In this tutorial, you'll learn frequency separation, a professional skin retouching technique in Photoshop. First of all, what is frequency separation and how does it work? It's essentially a process of creating two layers where one is used to smooth out skin tones and the other one retains all of the texture information, which can be manipulated non-destructively. The advantage of using this method over the healing brush tool is that you won't drastically change the color of your skin or other properties such as wrinkles, blemishes, and redness. To get started, duplicate your main layer by pressing Ctrl J twice on your keyboard. Let's rename the first layer Original, the second one to Blur, and the third one will be Texture. Let's hide the texture layer for now. Select the Blur layer and go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. We want to blur our skin to the point where the texture is less visible. I'm going for around 10 pixels. Next, let's make our texture layer visible. Then select it and go to Image, Apply Image. In this window, let's change our layer to Blur, the blending to Subtract, set the scale to 2 and the offset to 128. Select OK. And now we've ended up with this texture map on our image. To bring everything back to normal, we'll change the blending mode to Linear Light. And now the stage is set and we're ready to start retouching. On our texture map, we can use the Clone Stamp tool to remove pigmentation. The reason this is so powerful is that if we do this on the standard layer and, for example, sample part of the lips and then paint on another area, we are replicating the entirety of the image. But once we have the blur and texture layers visible, and then select the texture layer and sample the same area with Alt, what we end up with is just fine lines, known as the texture. I recommend a soft round brush with the hardness set at 20%. Hold Alt to sample an area, release it, and then paint on an area you want to retouch. Okay, so now I'll spend some time clone stamping on this texture layer. You can see how I didn't completely remove everything because I want to retain some of the authenticity in how this model looks. The next issue I want to tackle is the uneven makeup from specifically the light reflection. And along the way, I'll also smooth out the skin. Select the blur layer and then select the lasso tool. What you want to do is draw out a small area that needs smoothing with the lasso tool. To make sure our selection isn't harsh, we'll need to feather it. If you press Q on your keyboard, you'll be able to preview the selection and then adjust the feather on the top, which will let you smoothen out those harsh edges. This doesn't update by itself, so you need to increase the feather, let's say by 30 pixels, and then redraw the selection. Now that the selection is active, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. You may be wondering, why are we blurring on top of our blur layer again? This is because we started off with a low blur value and now we are intensifying the effect in certain areas of the skin. I'm going to drag this slider up a little bit. 14 pixels is about enough. Now you can press Ctrl D on your keyboard to remove the selection. And repeat the process in areas you want to soften. And this was Design Dummy.